Shout out to our sponsors at IconBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. IconBet, made by the players, for the players. Eye on Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community.
Scott, thank you again for jumping on and chatting to the community. We are today going to focus entirely on BTP. I know you've answered a few. There's a lot of articles out there, but why not get the latest and greatest? And what's been great to see is a lot of the community have jumped on the forums and asked a ton of questions. So I'm going to dive right in, and in no particular order. Yeah. So I guess, do you want to give a quick overview of how long has the BTP component? Well, what is BTP, and how long has it been in development from our partners at OpenLoop?
Yeah, BTP is an interoperability protocol and framework, and we have, I guess, it's been in development at this point for around 3 years or so.
Okay, excellent, short and sweet. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the community questions. So one of the first questions we have, and in no particular order, so comparing BTP to something like Cosmos IBC, how simple is interoperability to implement? For example, Cosmos requires blockchains to implement Tendermint or have a relayer for proof of work blockchains. Are there any requirements for BTP?
Yeah, I mean, for BTP, you just need to be a smart contract enabled blockchain. So it does make it difficult for something like Bitcoin to use BTP specifically, or to have like the full BTP architecture in use. But yeah, once we have the kind of framework done for each type of consensus and each smart contract language, it becomes more of a copy paste to implement the solution on other networks. So for example, like we have, if there's two blockchains that are EVM compatible and have similar consensus mechanisms, then once we implement it on the first one, it's essentially a copy paste to implement the second one.
Cool. Okay.
Because I'm going to ask a question really quick that might be kind of, I'm asking because I've seen it pop up a number of times, and to a certain extent, you've kind of addressed it, Scott. But just for the sake of, for those who haven't seen it before or aren't aware, I think the biggest question always comes up is, Cosmos is doing interoperability, Polkadot's doing interoperability. There's some layer 2 solutions that promise interoperability, that sort of stuff. I guess without knowing that we have a bit of a time constraint, can you just kind of glance over why, what makes BTP different? And is there a scenario where you envision a world of multiple interoperability solutions, each one kind of working a little bit differently?
Right. Yeah. So I think I'm a little more well versed in Polkadot's technology than IBC, and Polkadot really is a different type of. I really wouldn't call it the same type of interoperability we're talking about when we talk about BTP. Polkadot itself operates on a relay chain and parachain structure. Like the relay chain, the core network, it doesn't have any features. All it can do is transfer tokens and reach consensus and stake. There's no smart contracts, there's no applications, none of that stuff. So in order for their network to support applications, they have parachains, which will be like the smart contract layer. And then all parachains connected to the relay chain are interoperable and can communicate with one another. So that's like really within their ecosystem. What Icon is doing is connecting ecosystem to ecosystem. So being able to, like the relay chain architecture supports interoperability with anything connected to that relay chain. But Icon's architecture is more so let's, connect other ecosystems to each other. So, Icon would come into play, like still is symbiotic with the Polkadot ecosystem in that, Icon's not a relay chain and we're bridging to other, not a relay chain. It's not a parachain and we're bridging to other non-parachain blockchains as well.
And to what extent will there be friction using BTP? So for example, with like something like, I don't know, like a REN, there you have to take your Bitcoin, you have to put it into the contract. You probably have to wait a few minutes, and then on the other side of it gets spit out Ethereum. It probably costs a little bit of money. Obviously, I would say that's a frictionless process because you have to kind of like, it's multiple steps. You have to sit there and wait. To what extent will there be friction on BTP, or will it be one of those things where it kind of operates so smoothly where people might not even know they're kind of potentially using it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, but like at this point, the friction that you're talking about is more kind of on the individual use case side. Like BTP, like you're talking, the use case you brought up is transferring tokens, and that's going to come down to like a user experience developed around the token transfer process. But really, BTP is a very generic solution that allows for any type of data transfer between networks, and that could be as seamless as like the end user may not even notice that they're using that the application is using BTP if it's simply like querying data from another network, for example.
Cool.
Does that make sense to you? I could try and break it down more so.
Yeah, no, that I think just knowing that it's just going to be a different experience than I think for the most part what people kind of currently know as interoperability, which is still kind of clunky
the initial iteration of BTP is going to be similar to that of like transferring assets over the REN bridge, for example, where you have assets on the Icon chain, and then you can go through this process where you wrap them and they get spit out on another chain, and we have the kind of user experience planned out for that specific use case. Because token transfer is like a good proof of concept for BTP, but it can get really in-depth and complex where individual app developers might need specific pieces of data from different networks, and Icon's Relay network can support those queries. And that's a little different than transferring tokens between networks.
Right.
So that transferring token, Scott, would it be similar to the Orbit bridge setup in terms of essentially?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So for everyone to understand.
Same basic idea. Yeah, basic idea. Orbit bridge, REN bridge. Same basic concept there. But you can also BTP can also be extended to do something like what ThorSwap does, where there is no wrapping of any assets, and we're just triggering actions on different blockchains based on like if someone wants to trade Ethereum for ICX. We could have the ICX never wrapped and just sitting on the Icon blockchain. The Ethereum could be on the Ethereum blockchain. And we can trigger native asset swaps that way. It's just a little more complex of a solution. We wanted to get a proof of concept out for BTP. Wrapping assets still has a lot of value. So I think like shortly after we get the initial iteration of BTP out, we can start experimenting with more complex use cases.
Okay, great. Then again, just a reminder, we've had a few join. If you have questions, throw your hand up. You can ask away. Don't have to wait for us to get through all these questions. But let's keep plowing through. So Scott, now again, no order. So with ICE running an EVM and utilizing BTP, once BTP is developed to make this connection loose, wait, sorry, let me see. There's a spelling mistake here, so let me make sure what I'm asking you. So once BTP is developed to make this connection, does this mean that it will be easy to apply for other blockchains also running EVMs, or is there more involved? For example, will it be easy to copy a Solidity, a smart contract with minimal changes? I believe you've answered this once we have.
I did, yes. I did answer that. That is correct.
Framework.
Yep, it will be easy. Yep.
Brilliant. Okay. So next one, assuming BTP will be as fast as the slowest blockchain it's connected to, as it will require consensus on both connected blockchains, how will this work with the likes of ETH layer 2 solutions that derive consensus from the Ethereum layer 1?
Pretty much, we just need to, like, the way BTP works is we make some assumptions about finality when a transaction is finalized. So with a layer 2 solution, we could assume however many block confirmations that we feel is secure enough. On the Icon network, we achieve finality after 2 seconds. So that's what it would take if we were doing Icon network to another network that achieves finality in 4 seconds. The whole process, at most would take 6 or maybe 8 seconds. Because there needs to be a confirmation that the transaction occurred as well. It depends on which blockchain is sending and which blockchain is receiving in terms of the total amount of time.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Congraffa, did you want to throw the next question? Oh, it's just me.
You can take the next one.
Okay, cool. So is it just as easy for proof of work blockchains versus a proof of stake when integrating BTP, or does that
So
matter?
similar to what I was just saying, you need to make assumptions. So delegated proof of stake networks like Icon operate on one block finality. As soon as the block is confirmed, there's no going back. Like you can't. There's no probability that a longer blockchain would emerge. With proof of work, it depends on how many blocks have been confirmed in order to create like a probability assumption about whether or not the true chain is actually just lagging behind and this is a malicious chain. Like I'm not sure how familiar everyone is, but what comes down to truth in blockchain is the longest blockchain with the most work behind it. So when it comes to a proof of work network, you could, in theory, the longest blockchain may not be the most correct blockchain if another one comes up and puts in more work faster. So to try and wrap that up in simple terms, a proof of work blockchain, yes, it's possible. You would just need to make assumptions, just like centralized exchanges do. And you make a deposit that says requires like 12 confirmations. You know that after like X amount of confirmations, this is like 99.999% likely that this is the true accurate ledger. So we can just make some assumptions that you need 12 confirmations or 5 confirmations or whatever. Just depends on the network and the comfortability that we have with it.
Cool.
So next question. So a little while back during one of the AMAs, you mentioned that you wanted to make BTP or Icon the most interconnected chain basically in existence. I think I'm paraphrasing you, so hopefully I hit what you meant to say. But so in connecting to that, is there a roadmap or plans in place to execute that goal? I mean, I assume so, but to the extent you can kind of talk about that publicly. And then there was a mention of for the upcoming CPS proposals to onboard to work on creating those BTP connections.
Yeah, I mean, the strategy there is to try and work out different like kind of not cover ourselves, and like trying to make sure we get all the standards out there, right? Like we get the contracts written in Solidity, we get them written in Rust, we cover a lot of all the common consensus mechanisms, and then from there we can just start copying and pasting work and really expanding. So that's kind of been the strategy so far with the change that we've been working on.
And then for the next one, you kind of touched. This is quite kind of the question I asked, but it has a little more nuance to it. So I think it'll probably be a quick answer. But the question is, with Icon becoming the aggregator chain, how seamless will it be to utilize BTP? Simple things like just storing your crypto in one wallet will be as simple as sending your crypto from another chain to your Icon wallet, and the BTP connection will happen in the background without you even knowing, or will you need to actively make the connection each time? For example, if I send ETH to my Icon wallet, do I need to worry about losing my crypto due to the wallet address being from a different chain, or will the BTP connection just be made in the background without any input from the user?
Yeah, it's going to be a similar user. Like, it depends if you want to wrap your assets or not. I think whoever asked this question maybe is a little confused on like, what a wallet is and how they work. Like you can have, for example, like IconX is both an Icon wallet and an Ethereum wallet. People can send Ethereum to it. There's a 0x address and an HX address. But I'm assuming this person is talking about transferring Ethereum to an HX address. And there will be a
right. Yeah, that's what. Okay,
yeah. And there will be a user experience around that where you would first wrap your token. You would go through the process of specifying the destination address. And yeah, I mean, all of these things come with their own forms of risk, but I have a lot of confidence in BTP because of the fact that it's all secured by smart contracts and at the blockchain layer and not reliant on, like either a multi-signature wallet, like many of these other bridging solutions, or, some sort of game theory where, like people have to stake tokens. And then what if at some point, their stake that they have is worth less than like all the tokens that they've been securing? It makes a lot of sense for them to just steal the tokens and run off. So, Icon's BTP solution doesn't have as many attack vectors in my opinion. So I feel fairly confident in its security. But yes, every time you send from an Ethereum wallet to an Icon wallet, or a 0x to an HX, there's going to be it's going to have to go through the BTP network, and there's smart contract risk there, just like there is in using any smart contract.
Right.
So.
Got it. How, and to the extent, again, to the extent that you can talk about it, but the question was, how far away are we from officially announcing the other BTP connections or GitHub?
What a sneaky question.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what the.
Yeah, pretty. I'll make everyone do a little bit of work and just say, why don't you go over to the BTP GitHub and just see who we're integrating with right now? I mean, that would be a good way to answer that question yourself.
Yeah, I guess I saw a screenshot of, I believe it was, I know Polkadot was on there. I'm trying to remember the other two, but that was only a screenshot. So it was one of those things where I had to question if it was legit or not, and I hadn't done the follow-up.
Why don't we throw it out? There's quite a lot of people here. Challenge is on. Before the call ends, someone get us some answers. It's all on GitHub. Let's go. Who wants to voice up?
Yeah. We can also when we upload this as the podcast, we can also link it in the show notes and create a shortcut for everyone.
Love it. Okay, so I think this question again answers itself a little bit. Will we eventually be able to buy crypto directly with Bridge via BTP? So it's kind of using some of our other assets. But from what you said, Scott, my understanding on this is we could essentially, future iterations, you could, depending on how the UI is configured and what calls are made, it could essentially be done, right?
I didn't fully understand the question. When you said Bridge, are you talking about the Bridge wallet? Or
that's right. Yeah.
About?
So he's asked it with Bridge Pay using BTP. So could we use it directly?
Absolutely. I mean, we pretty much the process would be you would deposit cash into your Bridge account. It would be turned into a stable coin, and then it would be the same thing that we just described of making a either cross-chain swap, Thorchain style. If someone, if we end up building that more complex use case with BTP, or you would, wrap your stablecoin, send it over to some Polkadot exchange and buy, Polkadot asset or ICX. I mean, even on balance without BTP at all, we're gonna have a pair of, SICX against the stablecoin that we use, and people will be able to seamlessly convert their ICX to USD and vice versa through balance. So I'm pretty excited about that. Just quick side note there. Once Bridge launches.
Oh, excited. Okay, give me a sec. I have a request.
And as a quick follow up, I'm looking at the BTP page right now, and there's listed as Polkadot, Binance Smart Chain, and Near Protocol. So I saved everyone the anguish of having to Google that.
Hi, am I allowed to ask a question
yes.
right now? I gotta wait my turn.
No, fire away.
All right. So my answers are usually pretty stupid. I mean, my questions are. So bear with me. On the retail side, what kind of demand do you expect from BTP? Because as far as my understanding goes, anytime an asset is converted into another token, like Ethereum to ICX, whether it's wrapped, it's considered a transaction. So as far as tax purposes, as far as taxes go, I mean, you owe taxes on it.
No, it's not a taxable event. Wrapping an asset, no way. I mean, I'm not an accountant. You'd have to consult your accountant, but I'd be shocked if wrapping an asset. That's like taking cash out of your ATM. It's in a bank account, and now it's in your hand. That's not a taxable event.
So I actually read a conversation about it, I think last year when this whole DeFi space was coming up. And I think there was some news article on it that regarding taxes, that if you're wrapping your token, I think back then it was Ethereum was getting wrapped into something. So they were like, you have to pay taxes on it. So I'm not sure if that was true or not, but thank you for clearing that up.
I mean, I'm no accountant, so I can't give tax advice, and you should consult your accountant for that, but I would be pretty shocked.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for stepping up and asking something. Great. Love it. Okay, so we'll keep moving on. If anyone else keep stepping up. So this is another one on this note. Scott, your declaration of this is really coming back to everyone's questioning this. The foundation has declared that they're aiming to be the most connected blockchain in the industry by the end of the year. Do you have any more insight into the strategy to make this happen? So is there any, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like I did kind of answer that one already with the strategy is to cover all the different consent, like the key consensus mechanisms and key smart contract languages, and then be able to copy and paste from there.
Yeah. Cool. And
I mean, it kind of sounds like you're making it as hard as possible for another chain to not want to integrate, to where it's basically you're presenting almost like a gift wrapped. Hey, here's everything you need to do. Obviously, there's a little work involved still, but for the most part, it's pretty much out of the box, going to be ready to go for a lot of these chains. So at the end of the day, obviously all the hard work's been done over the 3 years of creating the actual, the protocol. The next hard step is writing the various ways it would be implemented as far as code. But once that's all done, as you're kind of alluding to, it's basically a copy paste job. And any chain that doesn't want to integrate it is kind of almost being like overly obstinate to a certain extent. Is that basically how it's looking?
Yeah, I mean, frankly speaking, even if someone doesn't want to integrate it, they don't really have much of a say unless it's a fully centralized network. You can deploy the smart contracts and do it anyway.
Right.
And another thing that you mentioned about being an out of the box solution is really what differentiates BTP from a lot of the competition. I mean, there's very little infrastructure work that you need to do. You deploy a set of smart contracts. We already have a set of relays that take care of passing data between networks. We take care of routing your transactions to any other network that's in the BTP ecosystem. Some of these other solutions are more like architectures, not like out of the box protocols. That's actually implemented and done. It's more like, here's how you can do it, and you can do it yourself if you want. Icon's like, we'll take care of this for you. We can get it done. We'll deploy these smart contracts, and then our relay network that's incentivized with our own inflation is going to take care of everything for you guys. So it's pretty low maintenance work for the people that are getting integrated, which is a key differentiator in my view.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overly simplified version of it is just all it takes is, hey, deploy the smart contract and you're good to go. There's no governance issues they have to worry about. There's no like, oh, you have to have a node running.
Right, exactly.
Oh, you have to have a P rep going to validate on the network or anything like that. It's literally just, hey, deploy this. Maybe it's maybe a bit more complex than how I'm presenting it, but it's still at the end of the day pretty easy.
Yeah.
Which I think is
certainly the relay software. Yeah, deploy the contracts, and then there is also the relay software. But again, if it has a similar architecture to an existing network, then the relay software will be pretty easy to get going.
Guys, we have Alex. Alex, your moment.
Hey, what's going on, Scott? What's going on, guys?
What's up, dude?
Hey, so my question that I probably should have asked you before, when it comes to like NFT token standards, ERC 721, TRC 721, stuff like that, will BTP apply the same way like it applies for other tokens, ERC 20 and stuff like that?
Yeah, we just need to create that would be a different service. So like BTP operates as service contracts. All right, you could deploy any number of service contracts on a respective network, and the first service contracts that we're creating are native token transfer and standard token transfer. So like the native token transfer service contract would allow people to send ICX to a Polkadot parachain and back, and it would allow for the Polkadot parachain's token to be sent to Icon and back. And then a standard token transfer contract is saying that we could send balance tokens to Binance Smart Chain and back, or we could send pancake swap tokens from Binance Smart Chain to Icon and back. So those are standard tokens, right? ERC20, IRC2, etc. So then what you're talking about would be a new service contract that somebody could develop. Nobody is currently working on the NFT standard token transfer contract or service contract, but it's something that could be easily added to the BTP ecosystem.
Okay, got you. Cool.
Alex from Vibrant, who's also building on Icon. Thank you for asking some questions. Excited to have you on the call.
Yeah, we're having a good time building. Everything's going smoothly. So I'm really excited about the BTP. I caught this conversation here, and NFTs is the next big thing. So we should definitely be diving into that soon.
Love it.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Cool.
Good to have you.
Okay. Oh, so one of the questions, look, I think this is a bit of a repeat one that I'm going to ask Scott, but I feel this is a good one to just tick off. So, we know, the Cosmos SDK, they've got a whole bunch of different chains using their SDK and are slowly building their bridges, obviously, if they're on the same thing. What does it mean when we integrate BTP to? How difficult is it for us to? Is it the same as the explanations you've given before? It's just about connecting to their smart contract to their chain, and then essentially we are interoperable with all the Cosmos related chains?
It's not going to be all the Cosmos related chains, but whichever ones we deploy those contracts on, yes.
God, I am too vague in my questions. Thank you, Scott. Yes, perfect. Cool. That's a really good one. I know quite a few people asked similar questions like that, so it was.
Yeah, I mean, Binance Smart Chain is a Cosmos SDK chain.
Yeah.
From my understanding, maybe it's not. I thought that I know at the very least they use Tendermint, but
I thought it was a fork basic Ethereum with 20 nodes running. They control. That was my understanding. Okay, cool. No, but that's good. Now, Brandon has asked another question here. Maybe you've covered this off, but how easy will it be to leverage BTP connections in dApps? Is there a good high-level example of what kind of steps are required for developer for this yet?
No, there's no developer docs around that yet. But we're essentially building the first app, which is going to be the BTP bridge dashboard. Again, similar to Ren's dashboard, or there's a couple other kind of token wrapping dashboards out there. So that'll be kind of the first product to do, and then from a dApp developer perspective, it'll be just like integrating an IRC token. So for example, Balanced, something I'm excited for. A major part of the revenue for the Balanced protocol is origination fees. So people being able to borrow BNUSD. And right now that revenue source is really tied to just fluctuations in ICX price. When ICX price goes up, people can borrow more, and they do. And that increases revenue. And when ICX price goes down, then we're having some issues there where, revenue slows down because people can't borrow. So what we can do is using, let's say BNB, for example, we could add BNB as a collateral type to Balanced fairly easily using BTP. We wouldn't own that experience in Balanced. We would say, if you have your wrapped BNB tokens, you can deposit them here as collateral. And then people would be like, well, where do I get my wrapped BNB tokens? And we could direct them to the token wrapping station, or whatever we end up calling it, where there's this user interface to swap your mainnet native BNB for IRC BNB. And at some point we would be able to integrate those APIs into the Balanced DEX as well, so people could do it all in app, and that would be the ultimate goal.
Cool. Okay, so Stephen here has asked a big question, but I'm going to kind of just give the crunch of it. So with the Polkadot ecosystem and the 4 chains and all that we have going on, is there plans at the moment to test BTP on Kusama already, or wait for the Polkadot parachains? I understand that's kind of like a test net in that ecosystem. Are we?
No, Kusama is no test net.
No,
Kusama maybe started as a test net, but that's very real money on there.
Okay.
So we're not going to be testing on Kusama, although it was suggested internally, which is kind of funny that it brings it up. Because we need to have parachains to test against, and those are, even on their test net, there's only I think 1 or 2 parachains that are functioning properly to be able to test BTP against. But yeah, I mean, we can, with the same code that we're using for Polkadot, we could integrate with Kusama networks, no problem, especially if they were gaining traction.
Cool. That answers it. That question. There was he wrapped something around Edgeware as well, which I think we had Tom Ivy on the podcast, and we covered that up. Because essentially Edgeware, while they're looking for a parachain slot, they're not dependent on it and can, keep
they're
existing.
a solo chain. And it's actually slightly different work we've come to realize throughout the research process, that integrating Edgeware is a little different than integrating parachains.
Okay. Good to know. Cool. Iconographer, I'll throw over to you.
Let's see, I'm trying to figure out. So here's one. I have one question. Here's what the question is. I have one question regarding BTP that I've been thinking about the last few weeks. The mechanics of the fee aggregator auction and whether it be more like a first come, first serve. Someone posted a discussion on this over GitHub a few days ago, so I don't want to jump on board their idea. And then so I guess, are there, as far as the auction system is concerned, there's this one that gets mentioned as far as first come, first serve. The idea he mentioned on regarding what was on GitHub was more about utilizing something like a lottery or something like that. I guess, are you guys looking at tweaking the auction system at all, or are you still thinking through that? I mean, I think it seemed like it was, I don't want to say finalized, but you guys had put a lot of thought into it already. So I guess, to what extent are you taking input and thinking through changes on possibly, with the auction system, or I guess that's kind of the open-ended question.
Yeah, I mean, the fee aggregation contract, I did design that auction system, and it was simply because I didn't want to necessarily rely on an Oracle solution, but I think that for something that was kind of core to our network, but it is still a smart contract when it comes down to it. It's not anything at the core, and I am getting more comfortability around that, and it'll significantly simplify the fee aggregation contract. I mean, we'll just query what the Oracle price is at, let's say we're auctioning off BNB, say it's trading at $200, 10% discount. The aggregation contract will offer the entire lot for 180 a token, and then anyone can come in and buy it at their leisure, like a buy now option rather than an auction. I think that's ultimately better, especially to allow people to take advantage of arbitrage. So, it was brought up internally as well recently, and I think that's a change that I would support.
So, Scott.
Yeah, I think that would be
just like the whole auction thing. Because
I think
many things to consider as well. Just like the game theory side of it, considering different attack vectors of someone spamming the auction with small bids. So we had to increase the maximum or the minimum bid increase by is something we had to consider. And then at that point, you're not getting good proper price discovery. And then at that point, the market could swing and someone has a bid in place, and then should they be allowed to cancel it? And then people are spamming and canceling bids all the time. There's just so many small issues to consider when we could just be like, oh, how much is this worth on exchange? It's worth 200. Let's mark it down 10% and make it for sale. And that would be nice and easy. So I'm kind of thinking out loud here and leaning towards going that way.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you first said that, I worry, okay, someone's just going to build a bot and instantly scoop it up. But if there's a way to put in standing limit orders for, hey, I want to buy the next one BNB that comes on the market, and I put my limit order in there, and rather than being sorted by price like they would be on other exchanges, it's instead sorted by a first come first serve thing. So if you're the fifth person to say, hey, I want to buy a discounted BNB, then after after the fourth BNB, then you get the next one.
Yeah,
I think that'd be something
that is interesting to allow it not to be for bots, but I think people are a little whether or not it's for bots, it's still helping all ICX holders.
Yeah,
so I'm not too concerned about trying to limit the amount of bots. In fact, bots make things efficient. So by I don't think we necessarily need to have the limit order book that you just described. I think adds additional complexity, which I was just getting excited about removing.
So Scott, I think
good point.
Just on this, I feel, can we back up and give an example here? Not let's put it this way. Say currently BTP, the integration was with Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain, right? And they were transferring tokens, whatever, between each other using the BTP solution. Can you talk us through the fee, how that process will work? Because essentially Icon's in the background, but what the transactions are happening, the fees are being taken by the local Ethereum and BNB. So could you talk us through very high level how that fee system and auction and how that would play a part and how ICX token holders benefit?
Yeah, I mean, essentially when someone sends a transaction through BTP, the fee is withheld on the source blockchain, where the contract is coming from. Mm-hmm. And then periodically we call a gather fee method. And when that's called, then all the fees are gathered. They're sent from the the source chain over to Icon and sent to the fee aggregation contract. And then from there, they're sold to ICX holders at a discount.
Excellent. I think that's great. Thank you. Exactly what I wanted to hear. Cool. Just again, we've had quite a few more join. Just anyone, please make sure if you want to ask some questions, you just got to whack the microphone, and I'll give you some airtime. Yeah, over to you, Oceanographer.
I was going to say, I think we talked about the fee component as far as the auction system and the fact that there's the 0.2% fee on everything that's kind of moving around through BTP. But you had also alluded to there's other potential contracts and service contracts and things like that will be that could also I assume you kind of utilize ICX transactions in a kind of expensive isn't necessarily a pleasant word, but I think from a standpoint of these transactions burning a chunk of ICX, I guess, so the tokenomics are obviously pretty advantageous as far as the auction system that we just talked about are. I guess beyond that, kind of as far as these other service contracts and things like that, what other ways are ICX holders and Iconists going to potentially benefit from BTP from a transaction/tokenomics standpoint?
Yeah, no, I mean, it all comes down to kind of the two things you mentioned, regardless of what service we're talking about, is transaction fees charged by BTP, like the BTP fees, and the just network fees on the Icon network itself that are paid in ICX. So those are really the two key economic benefits. And then, less like direct impact on ICX is really more the collaboration opportunities across other ecosystems and other communities. I'm looking forward to doing more AMAs and more like, cross promotion opportunities between with all of our BTP partners. You could even do like a BTP conference someday with like everyone showcasing from different ecosystems how they're using the technology for their own applications, and those are just good opportunities to gain awareness.
Cool. Okay, so I'll keep pushing forward. I know NBlaze got in a ton of questions, and I've had some conversations that passed around this with him. So keen to ask this.
And Scott, you have about 5 minutes?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay, speed reading. BTP will need to be used with Fee 2.0, so we could avoid the necessity for all users to hold a separate Icon wallet, and virtual step is currently an integral part of Fee 2.0. As Fee 2.0, and in brackets, as Fee 2.0 cannot be set up at the moment without setting up virtual step. I'm hoping you know what this means because I've just literally read it.
I do.
So that's the question. Is that the case? Actually
didn't catch the question there.
Okay, so apart from that, he said, on the other hand, though, from what we know, Icon 2.0 will not have virtual step. So how will Fee 2.0 be set up, and how will the transition from the current to Icon 2.0 system be done? So that's the whole question.
It'll be. It seems like a virtual step question, not necessarily a BTP question. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but virtual step will just be set to 0 on Icon 2.0. So nothing will change from a standpoint, from a developer standpoint. If anything, we're going to try and improve the process because right now it's pretty clunky.
Okay. Great. I'll accept that as an answer. And do we have an approximate date month when we could expect the first BTP mainnet connection to be live? I guess this would coincide.
I would say like Icon 2.0 plus maybe like a couple of weeks just to make sure that everything is going well with the Icon 2.0 migration.
Okay.
Like that's a pretty huge technological milestone to migrate every single block from Icon 1 to Icon 2. So I'm not trying to slap on like 20 new features on top of that right at launch.
It makes sense. And I guess this is a cheeky one. Is it possible to share which will be the first blockchain that we connect to? So we know we're building. Do you have an idea of which we're probably going to push forward once that time comes?
Yeah, I think like, I guess Near came on the latest, like the most recently, I guess is a better way to say that. So that'd probably be the last one. And the other ones are kind of probably going to happen at the same time.
Ah, cool. Okay. Okay, I think that's so. Now, this was one from Pedro. He asked, how soon can we expect to see private institution chains built by Icon Loop transact using BTP after its launch?
Yeah, that'd be more of a Icon Loop question. I don't really keep up to date, or I don't really know much about what's going on the private chain side. And me personally, I'm more excited about public to public interoperability anyway, and what it means for the public blockchain and cryptocurrency industry.
Cool. And I think you've answered this, but it's a good question as well. Can AMMs interact with other chains via BTP to increase yields? So once we have the full iteration of BTP, would that be possible?
Yeah, I don't know about the whole increased yields part, but you can certainly, just like I was describing earlier, you could have similar. Yeah, we could have AMMs functioning, calling contracts across different networks.
Cool. And one more, Scott. So what's the difference between our BTP solution and other big players like Cosmos? So what, in your eyes, what advantage do we have, does our technology have over the other solutions? I mean, you've touched on a few of these, but let's close it out on that.
Sure. Yeah, I think like all these solutions have their merit. I would say we're most similar in terms of architecture to IBC, but IBC itself is primarily an architecture. There's not like a set of relays that are paid in atoms to pass messages between all Cosmos SDK networks. If you want to use IBC, they say, here, this is how you do it. And then you implement it on your own network, you run your own relays, and that's how you get it done. With Icon's BTP, we have a similar component called a light client, and Icon's light clients are on-chain, so secured at the smart contract layer, while light clients and IBC are off-chain from my understanding, although I'm not 100% certain on that one. I would say the primary differentiator is what I was saying earlier, is that Icon's BTP is kind of like a out-of-the-box solution where we run all of the infrastructure for you, and IBC is more of an architecture that other people can easily replicate. It has good docs around it. It's definitely a great solution. And also, from my understanding, it's specific to Tendermint for now, but that's not to say that that won't be possible to extend to other networks if that is indeed the case.
Yeah, cool. Scott, I know you have to go, but I just had one personal question. So, we saw the Harmony put out a GitHub, request for funding to build the smart contracts. I made mention of this in a past episode. Are we going to see a lot more of this, even with the foundation or some support being thrown around BTP, where we put up a bit more on GitHub to pay people to build out some of the contracts for the other chains? Is that the plan pushing forward?
I mean, that's already what we've done. Okay. So we just don't put it up on GitHub. Icon DAO is contracted to build Polkadot. Web3 Labs is contracted for Binance Smart Chain, and then we have this team called HugoByte, who has gotten a grant from the Web3 Foundation. They're active in the Polkadot ecosystem and familiar with WebAssembly and writing in Rust, and they're building the implementation on Near. Cool. And we've contracted and worked with all of them exactly as Harmony's doing. They just use Gitcoin, and we use the relationships that we've had already. And funny enough, the team that took the Gitcoin request was Ibris, who is like extremely active in our ecosystem and apparently active in Harmony as well. And instead of having Harmony put out a Gitcoin request, I could have just messaged their team and been like, hey, do you guys want to work on this?
Yeah.
So pretty funny how that all worked out.
True. But the GitHub, to me, was a great little marketing thing as well on the side, just getting it out there, public.
I was glad to see that they did that, as opposed to trying to coordinate announcements and everything. They were just like, hey, here's a Gitcoin request. We want to get integrated with Icon. And that's why I guess I'm a little looser with just pointing you guys to the GitHub to keep up to date. Yeah, I think it's a good strategy.
Did Iconographer, did you answer that for everyone, or has anyone gone in and gotten the deets and wants to share with the group? If not,
I mentioned it a bit ago. It's Binance Smart Chain, Near, and Polkadot.
And then we just haven't added
Harmony.
Like Ibris hasn't started they haven't started Harmony yet, so it's not on our GitHub.
Yeah. Fair enough. Cool. Scott, I know over time, thank you for your time. Again, if anyone has questions, no one stuck their hand up, so I'm assuming not. But that's all for today then. Thank you, Scott, for making time. Everyone, I don't have anything else to say. Just it was great attendance. I thought today's discussion was fantastic. So many insights. I was trying to tweet out a couple of things, but I'm a guy. I can't multitask. What can I say?
Yeah, no problem, Fez. Thanks for organizing this as usual, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Thanks, Scott. Iconographer, thank you.
Take it easy.
Cool. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and thanks for the questions all. Take care.
Yeah.
Yeah.